Hey, and welcome to my type of shit. Today, we're going to have a great conversation about one of the most eccentric types, the ENTP. My name is Michelle, and you can find my YouTube and Twitter links and Instagram links, whatever, down below. I do have another channel on my own, but it's not all MBTI, it's all kinds of stuff. And then we also have Mech.
What's going on, people? My name is Mac. I'm an INTJ. I love this podcast. Today we're talking about ENTPs, but not before we talk about Emily. Sorry, guys.
Hey, I'm Emily, and my stuff, if you guys don't know, is Pakoki. You can follow me on everything. It's Pakoki, 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 Pakoki. Just kidding.
Pakoki, Pakoki. Try
Pakoki,
to say
Pakoki.
that 10 times fast.
That's me a chat. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm excited about ENTPs. But before we were recording, Michelle was talking about how ENTPs are one of her favorite types.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah,
and why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's because they are one of the types that is most similar to mine, because we have the same dominant function, which means like we both view the world very, very similarly, but they're just more on the analytical side of like a logical analytical, where we're on like a feeling analytical, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
memes aside, because I was kind of joking about how she says like all the extrovert types are like one of her favorites, which is kind of true because ENFPs and INFPs are like they say like everything's their favorite. It's kind of
Yeah,
funny.
it's a
That's
problem.
my favorite ice cream. You've had it one time, but no, I mean with ENFPs and ENTPs, it is true. Like they do synergize well.
Mhm.
It is a thing. I can see why they like each other. Actually, one of my out of my three sisters, one's an ENTP and one's ENFP, and they live in the same room. And yeah, so
Oh,
they get
wow.
along pretty well.
Yeah, but I've noticed that it's more likely that an ENFP will like the ENTP than for the ENTP to like the ENFP,
Yes, that is true. That is
because
true.
ENTPs take a little longer to warm up to ENFPs, because ENFPs kind of can attack, well, because we both have each other's blind spots in the second slot. um It means that we kind of like see each other's weaknesses very apparently, and ENFPs see it more like there's something that said, I think talking with famous people, I said this at one point, but like ENFPs see the problems of the ENTP a lot easier than the ENTP sees the problems of the ENFP. And because of that, there's kind of like a power differential. So the ENFP in a lot of ways has a bit more power in that kind of situation. I'm not saying that they're better in any way, but what I'm saying is that because the ENFPs can see the problems of the ENTP more easily, it does kind of create that power differential.
I think that the ENTP is like I don't know. In my case, I guess the ENFP is older than the ENTP sister,
Mm.
and so she's a little controlling. Because the ENFPs kind of have like it's like they're the origin of that.
We're weirdly controlling
Yeah,
for
they're
a
the
P type.
origin of the concept, my way or the highway, I think. And so, uh, of course, she'll rearrange the room in a way that might piss the ENTP off. The ENTP doesn't care because, like, she cares enough that it bothers her, but she doesn't care enough that, like, oh, it's gonna mess her schedule up of going to work, getting her iced coffee, leaving her clothes on the floor, whatever. Like, I don't know, the typical ENTP stuff or whatever. But anyway, I don't know. I just think that the ENFP will try to control to a point that bothers the ENTP.
Yeah, well, because you got to think about the shadow side of a personality too, which is, when your exact opposite functions kind of come out, like especially in a stressed state. So a stressed ENFP is an ISTJ, whereas for an ENTP, it's an ISFJ. And ISTJs are a lot more controlling than ISFJs. So I
Hmm.
think that shadow side really
That's
kind of can
interesting.
make the difference with that.
Yeah, I've never researched that kind of stuff, but I do. It does kind of make sense too. There does seem to be some correlation there, so
Yeah.
yeah, I would buy that. I would buy that.
And just TE is kind of brutal
Hmm.
sometimes, especially when an ENFP is stressed, because we don't have as much control over our TE. So it just, I mean, it's called, I mean, it often gets called from an ENFP your TE bitch slap, where you just like lay it out everything that somebody has done that's wrong. And it's just like, it's
I gotta
terrible.
say though, like ENTPs are cool.
They are.
They are cool people. Like I don't like I have already kind of talked to you guys a little bit about how ENTPs bother me, or I maybe even brought it up on the cast before. But like I have a love-hate relationship with this type, big time. But they are cool people. They are cool people. Meaning they're usually popular. They do stuff that makes them stick out. They do funny stuff, creative. They are creative, I think, in my opinion. ENTPs
Mm-hmm.
more creative than my type. I guess it depends on the way you look at it, but yeah, they just man. Out of the ENTPs I know, I usually would prefer to like talk to them over a lot of other people. But
Right.
when I get close to them, complications arise. I could go more on that in this episode too, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about them? You guys get along with them?
Well, I feel like I'm about to sneeze. I actually, hopefully I don't sneeze. Which, by the way, this is very random, but I have a Vladimir Putin calendar, and I'm just like looking at Vladimir Putin without his shirt on.
Oh,
Okay.
Like
he's
chilling
not
on
an
a lake.
ENTP though.
No, he's not. I think he's ISTP.
I can see
Um,
that.
um,
Interesting.
but yeah, no, my sister got it for a meme for me for Christmas, but I secretly like
Is your
it.
sister an ENTP?
She's avoiding the question.
My sister's an ISTJ. I like ENTPs a lot. I don't have any family members that are ENTP that I can think of besides maybe one of my uncles. But I do like find that I have ENTP friends frequently,
Mhm.
and I have like dated ENTPs before, and one of the guys that I dated that I was kind of in a relationship with, I think was one of my favorite relationships that I've ever had, I guess. And the reason why we like ended up not continuing dating was mostly because um he lived in London, and that was just not
Mm,
going to work out.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's some distance.
When we were dating, we were not long distance. Like we dated like when I was in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And how did that go, in your opinion? What's it like being close to an ENTP, to you?
So I think ENTPs, at least from my experience, um, it's different as friends versus like dating one. I say with friends, ENTPs are very like I think they're just very fun people, and obviously they're very logical in a lot of ways. And like my friend Valerie, who's an ENTP, she actually like it's like they definitely have different sides to them for sure. And also she's a bit different than other ENTPs out there because she has like certain social things, but she was very much a lot more personable when we were one on one versus like in person, because I don't know, she got distracted pretty easily as well.
Mhm.
But I would say dating an ENTP, he
Wait,
was oh sorry, go ahead.
I just had a clarification question. You said one-on-one, but then in person. When you mean in person, did
Oh,
you mean
sorry,
like
not
in
in
a
person,
group
in
setting?
public, in
Okay.
public. I didn't
Okay.
mean in person, yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry. No. Um, Dating an ENTP, and I've had other ENTP friends besides like my friend Valerie, but she's probably the closest ENTP that I don't know. Anyways, the ENTP that I dated, he was very like logical and he was very likable. People loved him, and he was very funny. And he was kind of like a meme lord in his own right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
people just like naturally gravitated to him, and he just was able to he would just get into debates with people about different things, and they were like very lighthearted. Um, but at the same time, so he kind of presented himself as like this very almost he had a very masculine energy, but when we were together like one on one, he was a lot more emotional and a lot more um warm.
Mhm.
Like he definitely would open up and be more vulnerable about things
That
and didn't.
extroverted feeling in the third slot is quite an interesting setup,
Yeah.
I have to say.
Yeah.
Because they do have empathy. Same with the ESTP, I've noticed too. Like
Mhm.
it's it's a it's a different kind of empathy than I have.
Yeah. Well, and in socionics, that FE is considered their hidden agenda, which means like it's like this underlying desire to kind of make like build people up and like make a really great atmosphere. And there's just this like hidden, no, it's not like the forefront of what they're doing, but it's kind of
Yeah.
something that they really like and really want to work more
Boom.
to. Yeah.
Well worded. Perfect. Because it's like, yeah, exactly. It's not at the front, but it's there. It
Yeah.
exists. And it'll be apparent at times that they care, right?
Or at times. No, just kidding.
Yeah, because ENTPs are kind of like a they're like an asshole type, big time.
They are like the I mean, there's a reason why they're considered the trolls of the internet.
Yeah, they are
Um,
trolls. Oh my god. And it's so annoying too.
I
Yeah.
don't mind it so long as it doesn't get personal, which normally it doesn't because they don't really have FI, so it never really does
Yeah,
get
you're
that
right.
personal.
They aren't good at that, but
Yeah. I tend to get a lot of ENTP viewers. They're
interesting.
the ones who comment the most on my videos, and, because I like to talk about things that will spark a little debate, and they're always in there giving me their
Yeah.
opinions. I love it.
Which they are good at debates. They won't let down.
Yeah. My,
That's
cousin is an ENTP, and, he's kind of the stereotype in every sense of the word. Like, he was in debate club when he was in high school, and, I was at his house one Christmas, and my sister was there. My sister's an ENFJ, and they started talking about, something to do with immigration or something. So my sister's married to a Puerto Rican, right? So she cares a lot about how Hispanics are treated in America. And my cousin is like, your classic blue collar Republican type guy. I mean, he's not a Republican, but he definitely has a lot of like conservative viewpoints. But anyway, he literally like during this argument, he saw which things, like, sparked her emotional reaction where she didn't have a whole lot of logic behind what she was talking about, except that she cared a lot,
yeah.
and he would poke at those and, like, tear down every single argument and, like, purposefully get her more enraged
Mhm.
just so that he could, like, laugh about it.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Just yeah, and it is kind of like they use a very spammy way. It's a
Mhm.
very they poke at you until you're just annoyed.
Yeah.
It's very weird. I don't know. Whereas like INTJs and ENTJs will just kind of wait, and then strike all at once with
Right.
like something really guttural. Like the ENTP will just spam and just do
Yeah.
stupid shit over and over and over until you just start to get annoyed.
Yeah. I think a good call out would be that, like, NE is the definition of the too much gene.
Yeah, it
Like,
sounds
we
about
don't know
right.
when enough is enough, and we'll keep going and going
Well,
and
it's
going.
never enough for NE. That's why I
Yeah.
think when NEs get together with other NEs, it's all bad. Like they
Well,
just
that's
go
why the
crazy.
conversation never dies, and I can talk to NE DOMs for 8 hours plus multiple times.
Yeah, cut sleep and everything. But
Yeah,
Hey, Michelle, we talked for 9
we did,
hours.
but we weren't talking the whole time, you see.
That's
We
true.
were doing things while we were conversing. Whereas with the ENTP, I couldn't do anything because the conversation was like that. Like, if I tried to start focusing on something else,
Can I just say
I
this
would
too
get
about
pulled.
the ENTP? Because I've known quite a few in my life. They are smart in ways that like I can't even describe because they do things that I'm incapable of doing on an intellectual level, and it's really about controlling your environment. I've seen some of these guys; they live a very it's like a lifestyle, but the way that they've cut it out for themselves, it like they know how to manipulate it so well. Like when they get into their niche, they can really figure it out. Like they
Mhm.
can definitely they almost have it solved. They know how to get what they want from people. They know how to. I would say they're good. Yeah, they're really good with manipulating people, in my opinion.
I would like to throw out that if any of you guys who are listening don't know much about ENTPs, you've probably seen this guy in movies, but Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, is like quintessential ENTP.
Boom, there it is. Drop the bomb. Perfect
You
timing
guys
too.
can
I
see like
agree.
exactly what Mech is talking about right there. Watch Iron Man and you will see the ENTP in his element by watching Iron Man in any of the movies that he's in.
Yeah, but I respect ENTPs because they have the ability to be really good at what they do. Maybe I believe every type can, but I should say it in the way that I like, which is just
Hmm.
being at the top percentage of something, or just like I don't know, they really make a name for themselves, or I don't know, maybe I'm butchering this, but it's just hard to explain because it's so much more of like a feeling than it is something you can measure. You know,
Mhm.
you just have to see it. You have to see these ENTPs. Uh, you
And
know,
you can't miss them
yeah, you
in a
can't.
group
They'll
setting.
even if they're worthless to the planet, they'll make sure you know of their presence. Like
Yeah,
just because they like I said, they spam and they're trolls. They are.
yeah.
I
I
I
think
love them
they're
though.
more obvious in a group setting than even an ENFP.
Yeah. What else should I say? Wait, have you ever been close to an ENTP, Michelle?
Oh, yeah. One of my best friends is an ENTP, and everywhere I work, I always find the ENTPs. You know, when that any starts sparking off another any, and like the
Yeah.
conversation doesn't die, you're like, ENTP, I like you.
It's so funny that like you don't get bothered with them. I just find that
Oh, not
hilarious
at
that you
all.
just like them like that.
I
That's
love
so funny.
them. I mean, probably when I was younger, I wouldn't have liked ENTPs as much.
See,
Um, but
that's
like
me.
at my one of my last jobs, I was working at a restaurant and I worked with this ENTP and we basically did the same thing. We were like prep cooks because it was really great because we would just sit in the back behind the where like people were cooking, like the ISFP and the ISFJ, they were doing all the cooking and we were doing all the prepping, ironically. Because we would just sit and we would prep next to each other and talk all day and just like talk about whatever. We talked about politics, we talked about science, we talked about philosophy. I mean, the conversation was never ending. And he was a writer too, so we were talking about our stories and stuff. Um, he actually is inspiration for my 16 personalities as writers because he was writing like a choose your own adventure kind of novel, like insanely in depth novel.
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say that I've always known a couple. I had one in like my friend group. I pretty much had one in like every friend group I've been in. Just 'cause like I tend to go in groups where people can handle my criticism, and ENTPs are one of those types that you could pretty much say what you want and they'll actually take it and absorb it and then, remove the emotion from it and stuff. But the one time I was really close to one is when I was on me and this ENTP, he was much older than me. I was like 18 at the time and he was like 27 or 28 and we would play like these 2v2 on this video game together. So it was just me and him on the team and we had to kill two other people. That was how you won the game. And so, but obviously we were both super good at the game. We wanted to keep improving, but our standards were super high and it was insane. The dynamic was I had all the flaws, his strengths were my flaws were his strengths. And whenever we got in arguments, it was so annoying. It was really the weirdest dynamic I've ever experienced because he would snap on like we both had anger problems. It was just weird. It was just a weird experience. Like I don't know how to describe this experience because we were both the thing is with humans is like we're all good, everything's fine and dandy until you have a similar goal. And then it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh god, now we have to work out our differences because we need to get this goal." And so it's like that's why in work environments things are so different than in friend environments. It's because everyone needs to get the work done so we can get the product out, so we can get the, you know what I'm saying? And so that's where MBTI kind of comes into play, where,
Mhm.
these people have pros and these people have cons. And so since we were working at the same thing, whenever we weren't succeeding, we just would go about the argument in two different ways. And like, okay, if we lost a match, I would explain the reason for we lost in a completely different way. We would never agree on why we lost, ever. Ever, ever, ever. It would always be like, okay, so he is the first person ever that taught me the little things matter. Like the fact that we could lose off a very minor thing. Whereas I was always saying like, no, it's like our strategy. Like the bigger overarching reason
Right.
we lost is because we went to A, we should have went to B. He was like, no, man, you should have, came towards me when I called you to come towards me, and like little things. He would focus on the little things, and I never understood that. I don't know why ENTPs. I don't know. Are they more detail oriented? I was more general, I
I
think.
think I think that's the difference of, like, that SI right there. Because when they get stressed, they're gonna get into that SI mode, and if they're angry, SI is gonna look at the little details of what went wrong and try to figure out how they could do better next time, whereas, like, NISE is gonna look at the overall, what they could have done better,
Yeah,
Yeah,
So it
I
makes a lot
agree.
of sense in
that would
terms of,
make
like,
sense. Yeah,
cognition.
that adds up. Yeah, but ever since him, I think he actually genuinely drilled it into my head that little things can matter in life. Like it could be, like I was always on like, oh, it's always the big decisions, right? Like you gotta just come up with a plan, come up with a strategy, and as long as you stick to the plan and the strategy's comprehensive enough, you'll be fine. But he kind of showed that the whole winging it thing and like the little things kind of do matter. But, but yeah, I never realized how the small details mattered until I met an ENTP. And trust me, they'll point them out. Not even in the setting I was describing, but even in debates or anything, they'll take the smallest detail and run with it.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
That's
That's
interesting.
Definitely the case I've seen. Funny enough, though, that guy won't. And I think we'll get to this later in the episode. But me and that guy were close up until a point, and then I think I just pissed him off, and he has not talked to me since. Like I don't know what it is.
Oh,
I
wow.
also don't think it's the way that I describe it though. I don't think because ENTPs don't seem like the type to hold grudges. But
I think they
you think
are.
they are?
I definitely think they do.
I think that they can tend to be some of the more petty types.
Oh
Actually,
yeah.
you know what? You're right. Actually, you know what? Thinking about it, I guess I probably shouldn't have butchered that statement so bad because my sister ENTP recently got into it with her ENTP male friend. And now she's saying, "Oh, that's not a friend," and she won't hit him up. She won't talk to him anymore. I don't know. It's crazy that I guess she's probably pretty much just gonna not talk to him anymore, which is weird. I don't know
Dang.
how that's it. I don't know how that goes. But anyway, with that guy, I mean, I've hit him up multiple times saying, "Hey, you trying to play again? You trying to play like it's a new year?" And he just doesn't. He doesn't even respond. He just doesn't even respond. And it could
Uh,
be,
Obviously he does hold a grudge towards
Yeah.
you.
yeah, yeah. Obviously he does. But it also like the one thing that I thought about though, that it could be, and I've read about this is one of the flaws of that type, is that they'll get like, okay, let's say they're interested in fishing and they have like a fishing crew, and then a year or 2 3 years go by, and they're into the gym now and they're not even into
Yep.
fishing, and they have like their gym buddies. They'll ignore all the fishing people because they're so immersed with the gym now, and it has nothing to do with the fact that they don't like the people that they fished with.
Yep.
They simply, this is actually something ENTPs do. They get so caught up in what they're doing now that they might ignore certain people. They might ignore
Yep.
family. They might ignore, even good friends. I'm not putting myself in that category with that guy, but I'm just saying that that could be an explanation for what it is, because they'll go periods where they don't talk to certain people because they're not assisting them with what they're currently optimizing for.
I think ENFPs can be really similar like that. I think that might be in anything because any is a lot more in the moment than people realize. I mean, even though we're in our heads all the time, we are in the moment. Um, I think that makes a lot of sense that they would be like that.
Yeah, I read that somewhere, and I think that does make some bit of sense. But yeah, I back to the grudge holding thing. I would say yeah, they probably do hold grudges. That does make sense. I
They
don't know
also
what
can
would
be petty and like vindictive too.
petty.
Getting back at people they have grudges against. especially younger, more immature ones.
Yeah, I know when I was
Well,
young, I did not like ENTP. I definitely
I
didn't.
also think that going back to SI, like inferior I think that they see details that are not there as well. Like they kind of will look into things. Sorry that my thing keeps on going off. They will look into things and that are just like, for example, a relationship. So if a younger ENTP was dating someone and then let's say they break up and then they're looking at that person's like Facebook or something, they may see something that the other person, like say a photo or a post or something like that, and they may think, oh, this is about me or something. Or I think other like ISTPs do the same thing, but I think ENTPs will kind of see a detail that's not, or see something that's, does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so, yeah, probably. They kind of maybe could get caught up with things that don't actually matter. That was my main argument in a lot of the cases with my ENTP friend. It's like, dude, this is not the reason. Like, it's not the, and then he just, it wouldn't. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's right some of the time. I was right some of the time, but they definitely could get caught up with things that probably don't have anything to do with it. But I
I
guess maybe since they can see everything, like see the possibilities of that stuff, that you know, maybe a false, what do they call it? I don't know what they false
I don't
flag.
I don't know, but I do know, at least for me, I find that ENTPs, I would say ENTPs and INTPs give me really good advice for some reason. Um like I just really value ENTP advice over some other personalities advice because it strikes a chord. Like they're able to see things from different angles, and they kind of give you the tough love about a certain situation.
Mhm.
Like my friend Rachel, like I've talked about her before, an INTJ, her dad is an ENTP, and they get along phenomenally. But I get along really well with her dad as well. And it's funny because I was actually talking about personality, and it's he was giving me advice about like relationships and stuff. Um because they actually brought it up. They're like, yeah, Emily, just about how I am in relationships and kind of things like that. And it was very interesting seeing what he said about like how he viewed me and how he viewed like the whole relationship situation in general, like going forward. I don't know if that makes sense.
So he just gave you like a unique perspective that you probably wouldn't have seen.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that I was really asking for that because it wasn't like we were really talking about relationships. But he kind of brought it up. Um, and because they've known me like since I was 10. And so they've seen me
Mhm.
like, through everything. And Rachel's married and she has a child. Um, and they just have a way different perspective, I feel like, than a lot of people do because they know me so well. And I think that added element plus like being an ENTP makes for really good advice. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, my INTP friend is giving me advice better than anyone I know, and I'm sure it would translate straight to the ENTP if I could find one that's like a lot like me. If that made sense. So I do think that those two sister types, they're good at
Yeah.
giving advice in a different way. I mean, like I consider myself good at giving advice, but like I can't use myself as a metric because everyone probably thinks that. But
I
Yeah.
think that's true.
ENTP though, they're good at it. I would agree. They're good. One other thing that ENTPs are really good at, in my experience, since most of the ENTPs I know are male outside of like my sister, they're really good at getting women, like to a level that I was never able to at a young age. And it's just it's deep, it's innate. It's just I think it's because they're a big risk taking type.
Mm.
Oh, I would agree with that.
Well, and that makes me think of like what Lovelu said on her channel about ENTPs is that they always shoot way higher than like they actually would be like equal. Like say they're like a 6, they're gonna shoot for like a 9, no
Yeah,
matter what. Like they're not gonna go for someone like they're gonna shoot way above, just like because they like the challenge of it.
yeah,
They
that
like challenges and overcoming challenges.
for sure. Oh yeah, so I have a couple analogies that I've built throughout the years to describe the differences between the INTJ and the ENTP. And one is that this is one that I acquired is that this is more of like an unconscious way that we make decisions, okay? So the ENTP, when it goes to make a decision, all right, unconsciously it might ask itself, what can I gain? Whereas the INTJ would ask itself, what can I lose? So
Hmm.
so I'm kind of the more defensive, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
just imagine. Now this is not a conscious process, like I said, but if you were to analyze deep into every decision that the types make, that those are the kinds of trends you would see. Where the ENTP is always kind of seeking out what how can I get more, or like it's always trying to build, and like it doesn't try to compensate for what it could lose. It's always based on bonus that kind of stuff. Whereas you know
That's
So
interesting that you oh, go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, I was just gonna say it sounds like they're slightly on the more they're like the more optimistic side of the coin, basically, is what I'm hearing.
yeah, probably yeah.
Well, also, I think it goes back to socionics too. Um, so so in the Gamma Quadra, which you are in the Gamma Quadra, INTJs and ISFPs have a like they're I forget what it's called, but they have a negative mode, whereas the extroverts in your quadra have a positive mode. In that quadra, the extra so in the alpha quadra, which the ENTP is in, they have a positive mode, like the ESFJs and ENTPs. I'm pretty sure they have the positive mode, and then the introverts have the negative mode. Um, which is a very interesting. I this is something I don't talk about in socionics, and I just feel like people don't really talk about this as much, but I do see those modes with, like, the different types that have them. So, like, as a negative moded person, which you're not negative minded, but, like, they do tend so INTJs do tend to see, like, where things could go wrong, whereas an
Mhm.
ENTP would be more optimistic.
Yeah. I would see that, yeah. I would say
It's
so.
interesting. I'm pretty sure Michelle, which is interesting. I don't know if you relate to this, but I'm pretty sure you have a negative mode, and also
Yeah.
uh what's it called? ESTJs have a negative mode.
Yeah, that's what someone was, talking to me recently. He sent me some articles that I was gonna go over when I had some time. So I haven't really read a whole lot about that, but I did hear that because, like, for example, INTPs are quote unquote my supervisor. And the reason why is because we're both negative and like we're in this like negative cycle with ISFPs and ESTPs. We're like all four in the same negative cycle. We're all the same kind of negative is what he was explaining. I don't know. It's a little bit beyond what I understand now, but I do definitely have the resources to look into it.
That's interesting because what's it called? I my supervisor is ENTJ and they have a positive. Oh,
Mhm.
of course that makes sense because yeah, I'm
Yep.
positive and they have a positive.
Yep.
Yeah, oh, that was stupid.
Ah!
Mm.
I just literally figured it out. Uh, not that I haven't
Oh.
known that before, but that's funny. That was a brain fart right there.
Yeah. But they are the risk-taking type for sure. Them and the
Oh, yeah.
ESTPs, but they obviously ENTPs are smarter about it. Which I should say, out of all the ENTPs I've met, uh I did meet one who was just like I think he was like really high IQ. And yeah, he turns into something different. Like those that type when they're smart or because they say like there's gifted versions of each type.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you find one of those for an ENTP, man, they go far. They go far. They're good at what they do, yeah, and they're just smart. Like they're really smart. Like they might get into some nerdy stuff. Because a lot of ENTPs, they're this typical social savant. A lot of them, at least I would say the masses, kind of, I've noticed end up doing drugs at like just maybe out of
Yes.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, and
Especially psychedelics.
yeah, this might be a type that you see fuck around and have a kid too early, or just do something because they didn't foresee the consequences. And uh, I don't know though. It is what it is. But I say when you find a gifted one, they are a force to be reckoned with. They'll out debate you. They'll probably end up making a lot of money.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're just the epitome of success.
That would be interesting actually in the future once we go through all the types to go over like the gifts, like if someone was gifted, because what does that even mean? Because like IQ, I feel like only measures certain things because there's certain people that may be considered gifted in IQ, but does that mean are you saying like in
It's
that
hard to
sense?
measure
Yeah.
you don't- unless you see it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like you'll like they exhibit traits that the others don't got. They don't have it. They might be sensitive to certain things. They might act weird in certain scenarios, but they'll be able to figure things out. It comes down to what they're interested in too. Like the gifted ENTP I knew, as opposed to the rest that I've ever known, he was like into Legos and like I never liked Legos, or he was like at a young age, and then he got into like chess, young like he got into weird things, and then he got into politics, and then he got into like really smart stuff. It was always into the smart stuff. Whereas all the other ENTPs like like at a young age were like figuring out how to fight and stuff. Which by the way, a lot of them do work out ENTPs. Does it seem?
Interesting.
Does it seem? I mean, maybe not, maybe so. I'm not sure, but it seems like they would be more interested in the gym than my type or the INTP.
Yeah. I could see that because they would look at it as something that they can master and it'll have something that they can gain from doing it.
Mhm.
I could see them. I wouldn't say many of them would or that it's like proportionately more than others necessarily, but maybe like more than INTJs. I could see that. But I could also see INTJs really getting into working out if that's something that they think is going to benefit them.
Yeah.
I also
So I
think
guess it's more the reasoning why
I also
that would.
think that they're like a type to like fight, like for fun, like when they're growing up
Oh
in middle
yeah.
school to like fight their friends, just for like just for fun. I don't know. Like I was never that kind of kid, but like ENTPs are that type that would just like I don't know. They seem to get more physical. I know a couple of them that were into wrestling in high school. Uh, they do seem more into that kind of stuff. It seems
Hmm.
the aesthetics maybe
In terms of, like, interests, I would consider them like a jack of all trades, master of
for
none
sure,
type of people.
for
They get
sure.
into a lot of things just long enough till they can get really good at it and be better than most people, then they give up, and then
hmm
they move on to something else, which is
So yeah, that's how I always explained it. So NEs,
yeah.
and I would put ENFPs in this type too. Don't get offended, anyone, please. ENFPs, ENTPs. Okay, they're like a type that's going to be like a 7 out of 10 in everything,
Yep,
if that makes sense.
100%.
Whereas
Yep,
an INTJ and like an ENTJ, when they're gonna have very limited interests, but they're gonna know when they like it, and when
right.
they like it, they're gonna start out at a 2 out of 10. They're gonna start off dog shit. It's just a fact.
Yeah,
And so when they end up, but they're gonna go. And the one
yeah,
thing that we have is persistence,
mhm,
and we're gonna end up passing the 7. We're gonna end up at an 8, 9, or 10 of 10.
yeah,
But we're that because we're immersed. We're so immersed that we end up
exactly.
passing. Whereas like what Michelle is saying here is that they are just a jack of all trades, and it is natural,
Yeah,
implying that they come with this
yeah,
skill almost where sure you have to refine certain things.
yeah,
Okay, no one is instantly knows all the skills, but it is where they're just kind of they do have that ability to transfer this baseline 7 to 10 to like all things, and they
mhm,
can just just
yeah.
have it.
They just lear like any just makes it really easy to learn new things and new skills, especially if it's similar to something you've had before. Like, take creativity, for example, like, any dom could, draw, paint, whatever other skill they wanna do. If they learn how to ride a bike, they could learn how to ride a cycle, et cetera, et cetera. Like if it's even slightly transferable, they're going to use whatever skills into that other thing. Um, but they don't care much to get above a 7 because they feel like, okay, now I'm better than average, so it's good enough. I can do something else. Um, and honestly, personally, because I also suffer from this, I think it's a suffering, even though it's also it's a silver lining situation. But like I've always felt like really inadequate because I can be better at average at anything that I do, but I'm never the best, because I never put in enough effort to be the best. And I think ENTPs are exactly the same.
Yeah,
I don't know if they feel inadequate like I do, but I
I
think
think
they're
they're
the same.
prone to boredom to a
Yeah,
degree. Not as much as the ENFP in particular, but the ENTP would also probably be prone to boredom too, where they just need new. They need new. They need new. They need something new.
exactly.
I actually think that ENTPs are more prone to boredom than ENFPs.
Yeah, maybe so.
I think they are also a lot more expressive and letting people know that they're bored.
Well, maybe that's what it is.
Also, we have a special guest right now. We're joined right now by Chaz, who is an ENFJ. He's listening right now, and he doesn't know at all what we're talking about. But I was
And
like, "Come on over."
oh,
So, what would
does
you
he
like
know
to
about
say, Chaz?
does he know
Hey,
about
Chaz.
MBTI?
Whenever I'm talking and you see the symbol that's Emily, it's actually me.
Okay.
Dang, that's good to know.
Pretty deep. Thank you.
Deep.
I actually have it black screened on the recording, so they won't see it. But anyway, does he know about MBTI?
Not
he-
really, but I'm about
Okay.
to throw him into the fire.
Okay, boom.
We're gonna,
Well,
he doesn't
he
know,
can
but we're gonna do a video together.
he can learn as he
Nice.
goes. It's not that technical. Hey, listen, Chaz, if you want to learn everything there is to know, just listen to this podcast, all right? You'll learn it all.
That's pretty good, actually. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
actually pretty meta.
Like that's all you need
Absolutely.
Listening to the podcast and then advertising the podcast to listen to it.
on the podcast. Yeah.
Smart.
Oh yeah, like and subscribe by the way if you haven't already and you're listening this far. Just go ahead and click that like button real fast and subscribe.
Ooh, marketing. Hey.
Hey, gotta fit it in when you remember. I meant to say it at the beginning of the episode.
I
but
wonder if the
forgot.
ENTPs will appreciate this segment here.
Oh, I'm sure they
Yeah,
will.
they
We're
will.
breaking it up a little bit.
They like the variety. They do like variety, ENTPs, by the way. It does seem
Indeed.
that whereas like I can sit and I can do the same stuff all the time. Like I don't know, they need variety. I could play the same game all the time. I could use the same character in the same game all the time. I wouldn't even care. But they'll need everything.
Yep.
They'll use every feature of their car. They'll use every feature in their phone. They'll use
They are
every
the
feature.
people that will do every mod possible for a video. Well, every mod that interests them
Yeah.
until they get bored of the game if they've played the game too many times. But so long as the mods keep them interested, they'll play a game with every possible mod. Like my ENTP friend that I used to work with, he tried so many mods for that Skyrim game when it came out, the remastered Skyrim. Like when you could put all those mods on there, he was telling me about like the craziest mods, like having I don't even know. I can't think of any examples because I don't want to give a wrong example, but something crazy like having a train come through the middle of town or something. But I think that might be a bad
They
example.
do
but
also
something
go out
crazy.
a lot too. From what I see, my sister, ENTP, who's 20, she's now going out a lot. Like a lot. I don't
Wait,
know.
how is your sister 20? Are you guys like
Oh, she just turned
twins?
20. I'm about to
Oh,
turn. Yeah.
what the heck? Your
Irish
family
twins.
your family just had kids back to back.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's how it went. But yeah, I mean, she goes out a lot, like more than I ever did or ever will. So it's crazy.
I think
ENTPs
I
do
think
go
they
a
go
lot.
out more than ENFPs too.
They might.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
believe that. Oh, one other thing too. They do seem to be like they seem to get their lives together more than like an ENFP or other types would. It seems.
I don't know about that.
Okay, let me explain it a little differently. So my friend has an ENTP sister. Okay, so now we're not even talking about the ENTPs I talked about. We're talking about his sister, and he has an ESFJ sister. And like the ENTP just wanted to get out of the house at like 18 and really like wanted to like, you know what I'm saying, like go experience her own life. And she was stubborn about the way that she did it, and she didn't want to like. She just wanted to get out and like, you know what I'm saying, be on her own. Put it that way. ENTPs want to be on their own, it seems. I think that's how I would say where they're an independent type, put it that way.
Yeah.
They want to
To
be
be
independent.
independent.
Maybe they don't get their lives together, but at least they have control over their lives. This is not the kind of type that would want to be constricted. You don't want to constrict the ENTP. They would not like that. That would
I
be
can agree with
super
that.
annoying to them. And so it does seem that they end up figuring it out, so to speak, and how they can get to be independent as fast as they can, if that makes sense.
I think we should go over the pros and cons.
I think so too, because I already have them up. I have this prepared, as we know.
Oh, I did want to say one more thing before we do that I've noticed in every ENTP that I know. They have like an ethical code. Like they don't take ethics like as it comes. They have like this code that they live by. And that code can change and adapt as they get older, maybe. But for the most part, it's going to be this pretty consistent, like, this is the kind of person I'm going to be kind of decisions that they make.
Fair enough. That's interesting. I guess I never really thought about something like that with them, like a moral code. That would be something for you to realize before I would.
Right, because I care.
Let's see here. So we got pros and cons here, though, as Emily requested. Nearly all the ENTPs will recognize the following characteristics in themselves. They should embrace and nourish these strengths. The ability to hold many points of view in mind and seeing their different merits.
Yep. That's what makes them so good at debate.
True. Yeah, they'll take anything and go with it, as we were saying earlier. Seeing ways to do things others have not thought of. That's just natural. Any innovation. They are like the spawn of like all these ideas. I feel like, I don't know. They come up with ideas all the time. There's no shortage of ideas within the ENTP. I'll say that. Able to give quick and diverse answers to any question of interest. They're well-rounded. What's his name? God, we all know him, bro.
Eric Strauss?
That stupid YouTuber that leaves ads on everyone's shit. Ty Lopez is an ENTP, and he...
Really? I don't think
he is. He tested it. He's tested
I don't care if he's tested ENTP. I do not think he's an ENTP.
I think he is, because he is well-rounded.
I don't know about that. I see ENTJ with Ty Lopez.
I don't know. I gotta disagree with that, but it is what it is. Maybe we can solve this. Someone solve this in the comments. Is Ty ENTP or ENTJ? I think he's ENTP personally, because I used to like watch him when I was younger, like a little bit, like back before. I used to see like maybe a couple of his videos, and I don't know, from what I seen back then, he seemed to have an ENTP-ish vibe, like a sleazy salesman kind of vibe.
I don't think sleazy salesman is ENTP.
It's hard to say.
Sleazy salesman is more ESTP.
Sure, but I think that...
I don't know.
Oh, I know this guy. Okay.
Yeah, everyone's seen his face at least.
You recognize his face if you watch it.
Well, because he was, hey, this is my garage, or this is my car, and then you go through his house.
He repeats the same shit all the time, and ENTJ wouldn't do that. ENTP is he uses a very... once you see how his formula works, it's just so ENTP, because it's the same shit all the time. It's like
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Fight,
no. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, we're getting into a debate on an ENTP video.
I know, it's not good.
They love it. They love the debate.
Jeez, I don't know. Wait, someone solve this in the comments. Whatever you guys think.
I don't think Ty is a...
As I said, the only reason I even brought it up is because that's what he said. I'm just saying what he told me he tested as, like on a video.
I don't give a shit what he tested as. The test means shit. That's what I...
Oh, you heard it here first, people.
On my type of shit.
We're dropping the real truths. This is dangerous here. All right, seeing the other side of a situation and making it known.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely
that's like the definition of what they do all the time.
And we'll do one more from here. The ability to quickly find the best or most useful solution of others.
What does that mean necessarily?
I would probably go that goes. They're just good people. They're good with people, but I do think it's back to that like manipulative thing, like where like okay, they could go to someone new and quickly see where that person would fit in. They
Mhm.
can recognize that like the traits that that person would have. I think they're good at reading that. They're good at reading people.
I
Well,
agree.
this is what I was actually this is kind of what I meant when I was talking about my friend's dad, who I've known like basically my whole life. Uh,
Mhm.
he just is like he gives a perspective on me that like I don't think a lot of people always express, I guess. And because he's able to see that, um and it's also something you wouldn't think that like a 40 something year old man would say. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
he's just so much more in touch with like, I guess, even it just he's just very in touch with reality too.
yeah, I
Like
would say
reality
so.
of situations.
I would say so. Yeah, not as much as an ESTP because they are the real reality, but like ENTPs have their interpretation of reality. I think they put a more abstract understanding of it, or more
Mhm.
theoretical understanding of reality, but it's still an explanation of how reality works, even if it's a little more theoretical. But yeah, I'd say so, because I tend to be a little idealistic with a lot of the things I say, but they are they use the opposite functions of me. So, uh, we got some now. If they develop their introverted thinking, this is what they'll end up having. Some of these traits: the ability to solve puzzles and problems that have no obvious way to resolution. That is true. That is true right there. Because I feel like they have that no like nothing's unsolvable approach. Like they'll like I will see things and say, "Oh, that's an unsolvable problem," or like, or I'll say, "Okay, well, the only way to solve that," or like, there's only two ways. Or, like they'll never say stuff like that. At least it seems like
Mhm.
they it's definitely true. They'll find their
I'll
way out of
just bring in Tony Stark again. He's a great example of that right there. I'm just saying.
it. Yeah. A talent for innovative creation in writing, music, or visual arts. I don't know about this. What do you think?
Oh, okay. So my friend Jeffrey, shout out Jeffrey Auto Alchemy. He's an ENTP, and he and his friends, when he was in high school, they had a band and they made music of every single type of genre. Okay, so Jeffrey has shared with me like hip hop rap song that he did. It was impressively good.
Yeah.
Like I was like, "Whoa, you have that in you." Like they look all like, these geeky people, but then like you can hear some stuff they do and you're like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
He's talented, and
I
I think a
yeah,
lot of ENTPs are talented like that. It's like
Innovative.
that
I
7
agree.
out of 10 thing we were talking about earlier.
Mm.
They just get really good.
I'm glad you
They're
agree with
they
that.
really are like the jack of all trades. I mean, just like how ENFPs are in a way. Like, but they do it in a different way. And
Mhm.
I think even host Eric from Talking with Famous People is a good
Yeah.
because like I mean he comes up with all these like random songs and like yeah. And he's a debate coach and all kinds of other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, he likes his art too and his music. Absolutely.
Now, this is an interesting one. They say they'll get if you develop your introverted thinking. Knowing and giving to others the very thing they need when they are not sure of themselves. So you're depressed, you're sad, you don't know what's bothering you. You go up to ENTP. They know exactly what you need to hear. Like they know it exactly. That's if they develop themselves. I think that's interesting.
I can see that.
Yeah, I could see that too. All right, and we got a couple problem areas here. All right, their cons list is quite short. I don't know if they're gonna get egos after hearing that one. Any,
That person who wrote this must have been an ENTP then,
yeah, who
obviously.
knows? The inability to maintain a comfortable situation or relationship once its possibilities have been realized or exhausted.
It's that boredom thing, you know? I think it's like they get bored, like with a relationship, it could be very easy for them to see the possibilities of other relationships being better than what they have. They've done everything that they quote unquote think is possible with that current relationship. I can see that.
Yeah, it's like me and my friend. I said he may have just feel like that he's exhausted every way that we could improve our win rate or have fun doing what we were doing, and so he just decided to go into different things.
Mhm.
A tendency to consider careful or meticulous thinkers as unworthy plotters or time wasters. That is definitely true. That's
Sounds
why they
like
hate me.
exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds exactly why your ENTP friend
Yeah, he couldn't stand
didn't
it.
like
Yeah,
you.
yeah, he couldn't stand it. All right, most of these ENTPs can't stand this. This right here really bothers them. Which makes no sense to me, because really, the more time you think about something, the more refined your concept of it will be, and I guess they just don't see it that way. Blindness to the needs and feelings of others not directly involved in the ENTP's current area of interest. That right there, that's the gym example I was giving.
Wait, say that again?
Blindness to the needs and feelings of others not directly involved with the ENTP's current area of interest.
Mhm.
So, if you're not in the gym team with him, he's not even thinking about your feelings. And so, of course, he's going to forget about his fishing friends.
Yep.
What I was saying earlier. A lack of sensitivity to the feelings and ways of those who might need reassurance, security, or commitment. Yeah, of course, we spent a lot. I feel like we've talked about the pros of this type a lot.
We
They
didn't
can be
talk much
mean.
about them. That yeah.
This type ENTPs are toxic. They are mean. If they want to be, they can be.
Yeah, well, like I was saying about my cousin, like he purposefully got my sister really heated just like to get her emotionally invested so he could
Yeah,
like
and
kind
they
of
do
play with her
crazy
like
stuff
that.
like that. They'll like plan ways to. Well, they're not very much planners. Maybe that's not the right word, but they'll come up with ways to get under people's skin and really hurt
They're
them.
they're quick at planning in the moment. Like for
Yeah,
example,
exactly.
another ENTP that I used to work with. Well, he did this to another ENTP ironically. But anyway, like this girl was like a major feminist, like very
Mhm.
much so like women power, blah blah blah. He started saying something like it was something about like how women are less than men. And he
Yeah,
didn't
just a
even mean
trigger.
it, but he was
Yeah.
saying it to trigger her and to get her going on whatever subject. We may have been talking about abortion. I can't remember, but
That
something.
topic, yeah, that's the one that gets people.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
he
could see
he
why
just
he, yeah,
escalated it,
used
and he
that
was
one.
just having fun. And I asked him, like, "Did you do that on purpose?" And he was like, "Hell yeah, I did."
Yeah, they'll be upfront about it too. Like it's funny.
Yeah.
The inability to deal carefully and calmly with the finer details of a situation or work in progress. Yeah, I kind of agree because they are not very careful or calm in any sense of the word at all. Like
No,
they
and that's something I struggle with too. I can relate to that. I think that's a lead any having lower SI kind of problem.
yeah. Actually, if you
Details,
go
man.
on this
Who needs
site,
them?
they do list a lot of the same flaws as the INTJs, the INFJ. So it'd probably be the same for, it's like that first and fourth function axis, like
What
as you
site
guys,
is it?
the personality page, the one that you said you used like way back.
Oh, the personality profile?
I don't remember. I just know if you type in, the type and put in personal growth, it's the first link.
Okay.
Let's see. What's the last couple here? Man, I'm only reading the cons so much because like they're so accurate. I'm being an ass. But anyway, a tendency to be arrogant or boastful or to demean those who cannot see the same answers.
Eric from Talking with Famous People. It's a great example of that.
Yeah, they're definitely kind of arrogant at times, but that I don't know. It's just a core part of how they are. So
Right. What were you gonna say, Emily?
Well, I do think they have like a sense of confidence about their abilities and their ability to use TI.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, I think they going back even to like I think Shaun said this, like the fact that ENTPs are easier, like they get women or ENTP females get men or whatever you're into, like they're just very good at getting who they're interested in. And I think a lot of that does come across as arrogant or overconfident in a way.
I think they're just good at getting what they want. Period. Because they take so much risk. Of course,
Yeah.
they get screwed over a lot too, but not to neglect your point in that they get who they want. That's definitely true. Yeah, because that's also like the extroverted side. They're good with people. The whole nine. They seem to be
Yeah.
good with people all around. Okay, now this kind of ties in with that though, the risk taking where they can get screwed over. Can find themselves in bad situations by too quickly taking a big step forward or by being too smart for their own good. That statement for them is true. Too smart for their own good.
Yep.
That is true. And you know what's like this is an INTJ saying, like, I don't like giving like that's kind of annoying to say, like the this type is smart and developed. Like, I'm giving them a lot of credit. They are though. Like, I have to give them credit because they possess the traits I don't have. It's just how it is.
Mhm.
Like, mostly all the stuff they have, I suck at. So
Yeah.
it's kind of
I mean, I could see them getting bullied when they're younger, especially if they're like, on the more like nerdy, weaker side, because they would not know when to stop and when to stop like pushing the envelope in conversations. I could see them getting like bullied for that.
yeah. I could see that too. Yeah, they'd put themselves in situations like that.
Yeah. Especially by people who are like SE and stuff, who are just like, or even at, like FI too, just getting like frustrated with them. I could see that. Actually, I think I know a lot of ENTPs who have been bullied because of that reason right there. Because it kind of like makes people feel unsettled when somebody is like seemingly attacking them in that way, not knowing when to stop with arguments. Like even this ENTP I know, who's in high school, he was like trying to debate something and um, yeah, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but like definitely just people can get offended by the way that they just don't know when, and can take it out on them.
For sure. I think we gave a pretty accurate description of the type though this episode.
I
I
agree.
agree.
Talked about the
Jinx.
pros, the cons, all that stuff. I like this type. I hate this type. I don't know how I feel about this type.
ENTPs, you know how I feel about you.
Well, I also really like ENTPs, but
But yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up. We didn't shout out our stuff. My Twitter is @perception, and if you guys type in Mech INTJ on YouTube, that's my YouTube. I haven't uploaded as much as I should, but I don't know. Who knows what will come on that channel?
we did actually shout out our stuff. You didn't shout out your stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I
So
gave
I'm
you
the
the
lost one.
opportunity.
I'm
Yeah,
lost.
but then you're like, let me introduce Emily.
Oh yeah. It is what it is. I'm not worried about it. But anyway, yeah. So go to the socials. They're all in the description anyway. Anything else you guys want to say about ENTPs?
Yee.
Yee.
Yee. You heard it.
You heard it here first,
All right,
guys.
guys.
Yee.
Subscribe. Yee.
Until next time.
Hit the yee.